Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Muftar once again. Welcome to another episode of Chat with Muftar podcast. My guest today is Emmanuel Yankey. Yankey is a former boss of mine. He's a well-known portfolio manager amongst his peers and also on Etoro, partly because of his long-term top-down approach to trading. Emmanuel took his first trade at the age of 18, tripling his initial investment at that time, and since then has never looked back. On this episode, we discuss his journey as a global macro strategist and how new traders can become one. He also gave numerous advice on how to select a transparent broker for trading, which is a very important aspect of us being traders. He gave rules on how to become a great trader and also shared his wide range of experiences over the period. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this is Emmanuel Yankey.
Thanks so much, Yankee, for making it behind your busy schedule to attend the chat.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Right. So, I don't want to prolong the whole chat, but I just want to start by, the usual, how you got into trading first.
I started my trading journey at the age of 19 years.
Wow.
Then I was getting ready to enter into the university, so I was reading books. And most of them, the books I was reading there was from Robert Kiyosaki and then some ones that he wrote with Donald Trump. So that's where I got the interest from. So I remember when I was in the first year at the University of Ghana, my first trading I ever did, I bought shares in Bank. And within two months, I had made 100%. So, that's where it all started. That's where the interest really grew. And I was like, no, I'm going to take this thing very far.
Right. So you were able to cash out the Bank shares when they started?
Yeah, I did. Once, so back in the day, internet wasn't too accessible. So what we're doing was that we go to the libraries for the halls, and then I go and check what's happening on the Ghana Stock Exchange website. So one day I went to check, and then I realized that I bought the Bank shares for 30 pesos, and now it was selling for about 70 pesos. So immediately I had to call my broker. I was using SDC brokers. They are behind Bank of Ghana.
Right.
So I quickly went there and then sold all my shares.
Interesting. So you started just trading from the library of the school at that time. But did you know why you bought those shares? Did you have actual reason why you bought those shares? Was there a reason behind it?
To be honest, I didn't have any reason. I was starting out my trading journey, so I just looked at the price and it was 30 pesos, and in my layman's view, it looked very cheap. So I just went and bought it. So to be honest, it was just by a stroke of luck that I was able to make that return, not because I really did something special, really.
But how did you make the transition into forex and stocks and other instruments that you trade? How did the Bank shares get you into? How did you transition basically to the
trader? So after selling off my Bank shares, I became very hyper. So I thought I was very invincible. I could, beat the market. So I sold those shares and then bought shares from other companies. I bought Goil, I bought ETI, I bought others. But to be honest, I couldn't become second time lucky. So the prices just dance around the same figure, and then I was cash strapped. I needed money, so I offloaded all the shares, and then basically I was out of the market. So for the remaining part of my stay in the university, I wasn't really doing anything stock trading. I was
Right.
just, yeah. I think a combination of, the pressure of academics, and then by then I was kind of also being lured into some network marketing businesses. So I really forgot about trading until I started working again, and then a friend introduced me to Forex. But let me go back. Even before that, during my course of the university, I read about Forex trading and I wanted to be part. Actually, there was a guy on the same floor, on the same hall, the building. I think he was on top, and the guy he was a Ghanaian, but had lived all his life in Nigeria, and he lived a very good life. And so he happened to be a friend to a friend of mine, and I asked him what he does for a living. Because back in the day, Charlie, everyone is hustling, but he looked very flashy, So I was told he does forex trading. So I was like, no, okay, I'm going to learn what it is about. But on campus, I didn't really take it seriously until I started working, and then a friend of mine introduced me to forex first. So it was forex, and then later I found out that I could also move into commodities and then indices and back into stocks. So that's how I got myself into this very exciting journey.
Right, right. Very interesting story. Whenever I hear people's story of how they get into trading, it's always very interesting. It's always something leading to something. So, I mean, during the first days, during those first days of trading, what were some of the lessons you learned? I mean, considering now you're a professional trader yourself, you manage portfolios on Etoro, and you have fund seeder accounts that you manage very professional way. So, what are some of the lessons you learned during those transitions from the trader you were to the trader you are?
Yeah, so the key lesson I learned was that you can't rely on luck to be successful forever. Okay, if you are lucky, first time lucky, second time lucky, definitely your luck is going to run out. So you need to really understand what you are doing. So after that experience, it put me on a quest to seek knowledge. So anything that I came across, I wanted to read, and it was difficult because I didn't have anyone to guide me and guide me through the ropes. But I mean, I just tried and tried, trial and error, until I got to university, and then finished university, started working, and then met the colleague that I'm talking about. So if there's anything I really learned from that experience, is that you really, really have to invest in knowledge if you are going to be interested in a career like this. I mean, the financial market is very dynamic. It keeps on changing. Now there are a lot of robots also doing trades on behalf of, institutions.
Right.
So the dynamics are changing. You always have to be abreast with current times.
Good, 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 good. That's very sound advice.
Okay. So the motivation factor actually goes back many years before that. So I entered university in 2007, but around the early noughties, that's 2000, 2001, I had this very strange dream that to date I still remember. So in that dream, I was suited up. I was in suit, and I was wearing this cowboy cap, and then I was sitting in the midst of people that I mean, from the dream, they look like well-accomplished business people smoking cigar and things like that. And I was in a mess, and I was handed a suitcase, and it was packed with dollars, you know.
Okay.
And in the dream, it was like I was being entrusted with money, okay, to turn it around for them. At that point, it didn't really make sense to me because I didn't know about trading or anything. Then, back in the day, there was this popular politician in Ghana called Kofi Wayo, and I don't know if you know him. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, yes.
So, you know, during that time, before Kufuor or the NPP took power in 2000, Ghana was very, I wouldn't say backward, but we were very, very conservative. If you look at how Fidel Castro made Cuba, okay, so I think it was the same thing that Rawlings was trying to do here in the country. So Ghana was very enclosed. You hardly hear about rich people. Everyone has a normal job, 8 to 5. All of a sudden, after Kufuor took over, there's this guy who comes. He says he's called Kofi Wayo. He's a millionaire. He wears $100,000 Rolex watch. So I was really, 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 really interested in what he was doing at the time. So he said he was trading crude oil. Okay. So then I immediately linked what the dream I had to what he was talking about, and he was also like he was an investor. So that's where the motivation actually started. But it wasn't until 2007 where I was 19, because at the time I was below 18, so I couldn't have even started buying shares. So I had to hit 18 and then also gather some money before I finally was able to place my first trade in the in buying the carbon shares. Yeah,
Right,
so that
right. Very interesting dream you had there.
yeah.
So, about your trading system at that time, what sort of system did you start out with, and when did you start being consistent?
Okay. Are you talking about when I started off with the stocks with Carbank, or you're talking about after when I started Forex?
After you started forex, how long did it take you to be consistent trading?
Okay, so after I started Forex, it took me like close to 2 years to be profitable. I don't know for others. Perhaps others had a shorter learning curve, but for me it was 2 years of anguish and 2 years of frustration, because people start trading Forex now and they start with demo, but I didn't. The person who introduced Forex to me was like, if you want to really trade Forex, real or live account is a real deal. Forget about demo. So I just moved straight into live account, and your guess is as good as mine. I blew my account within a couple of weeks, and then I funded an account again. Same story. I mean, it went on for a couple of times, and there was this point that by then I was working with an insurance company here in Accra, and I did this consultancy work for Niger PLC Insurance. I'm sure you are familiar with them. Niger PLC, yes. And then Guinea Insurance. And I was paid after the consultancy. I put everything into Forex, and still your guess is as good as mine. I lost everything. Yeah, so it went on for about a year, and it was at that point that I realized that no, I have to really, really learn to understand, because by then we're relying on signals. There was this woman from Greece. She's called Dr. Sophia. She was a dentist. Then she switched careers and became a Forex signal provider. We followed her signals, and and the performance was so. But I always say that there was this book that I read, and that's what began to change everything for me. It's called Forex Conquered. It was written by John L. Pearson.
Right.
Yes, so it was after reading that book that I really started getting my acts together. So from that time, then I wasn't really making profits, but I wasn't blowing my account. I had moved away from blowing my accounts. Okay, but it was, and I was seeing gradual success. But what really put me on a consistent path was a training I had with Fidel. So they brought guys down here who were actually really began to see some consistency in what I was doing. So I'll say it was after 2 years of Forex, then I became consistent.
Right. So I understand now. Your trading style is more of robust data mining and data processing to take positions in stocks, FX, all instruments basically. What would you say best describes your trading style? Because we fundamental analysts, we have technical analysts, we have momentum traders there. What best defines your trading style?
Okay, so my trading style, I think, would be appropriate to be termed as a global macro strategy. So global macro in the sense that I use a top-down approach. So I'm looking at, for instance, if I take the US and I want to invest in a particular asset from the US, be the dollar or any other asset, I'm looking at the geopolitical environment first. Then after that, I zero into the economics itself. And in the case of a particular stock, then I go into the industry that stock is operating. Then down until I get to the actual stock I want to buy, and then I look at their financials. That's with stocks. And then with currencies, then with that one, after I look at the health of the country, and then now I look at the currency itself and the macroeconomic indicators. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Okay. So how do you make sense of this data? I mean, you talked about in the case of stocks, you talked about financial data, I mean their financial statements. I mean, vaguely, you can vaguely tell us. Can you vaguely tell us? What are you actually looking out for in those data?
Okay.
In those financial statements.
Yeah. So when it comes to my trading strategy, I think I could broadly say that it follows the same ideology or the same philosophy. By nature, I am someone who likes to find things that are undervalued. Okay, so whether be it stocks, be it currencies, I'm looking for value. So in the case of stocks, I'm looking at the current price and then in relation to the future earnings, of course. So say the price earning ratio at the time, and then also the ability for that particular stock to perform and pay dividends and pay earnings. So that's what I look out for. I'm looking for value. In the case of currencies, I'm also looking for value, and I'm looking for mispricings. So if let's say euro dollar is 1.15 and per my models is supposed to be 1.2 or 1.3, then I know euro dollar is hugely undervalued, so I'm looking to buy. Okay, so I mean, it's just looking for value. I'm always searching for value. Anywhere I find value, that's where I'm going to be comfortable with.
Awesome, awesome. Because I wanted to ask you about, what actually informs you to check out this particular instrument, right? What says, okay, today I'm going to check euro dollar, or today I'm going to check APL stocks, or I mean, what's the setup behind it? What to that instrument?
Okay, so let me use the current portfolio I have to illustrate my point. Okay, if you would remember, even me and you, we go way back. We had a chat, and then I told you that I was buying stocks aggressively. Now, this is the ideology. With COVID, it presented an opportunity and also wiped out millions. Now, with all the lockdowns that has happened this year, what it means is that people are not going to move. Movements have been restricted. Okay, so it's going to affect airline stocks. It's going to affect cruises, ship cruises. It's going to affect transportation in general. So then I looked at zeroing in and then looking at these areas and getting to find out where I could get value. So I picked cruise line stocks mostly. So with my portfolio, I have majority are cruise line stocks, and then to the minority, I have airline stocks. Now, I realized that there was a change in the sentiment of the market. Why? Because even before this whole craze about vaccines, I had heads up that there was a possibility that we're going to have a vaccine. And once we have a vaccine, everything is going to go back to normal. People are going to fly on planes. People are going to go on cruises. Okay. And now, with the development of vaccines, it's not a matter of if, but it's about when. So as a value investor, it makes sense to invest in stocks, these kind of stocks now. Okay. So by the time vaccines are available, I've even had some ambitious forecasts of being available by end of this year. Then by end of this year, then most of these stocks are going to go back to pre-coronavirus levels. And one more important thing to note is that because of this recession or this coronavirus recession that has happened, most central banks have done what we call quantitative easing. That's basically printing of money. And the US government is the biggest culprit. Now, basic demand and supply will let you know that once something is in excess supply, the value is going to drop. So eventually, I'm of the view that the US dollar is going to really drop significantly once economic activity picks up, and it's going to raise the prices of stocks. Okay, so the devaluation of the US dollar, in addition to economic activity getting back to normal, is an indicator for me that these stocks, with the current prices that they are in now, are very, very good value. So I mean, this is how I pick my stocks.
Okay, so I understand that. I mean, from the global view, you start from the top-down analysis. Then the data tells you what to actually get in at what particular price or point. Okay, that's very interesting. Well, it would be interesting to know also what would then inform your decision. I mean, on the downside, let's say your long AL, I mean a cruise line stock or an American airline stock, and I mean based on your data you get in. What then informs you that perhaps this position is wrong?
Okay, so what's going to inform me that I need to change my view of the market is when the indicators I'm looking out for changes. So assuming they now come out and say the vaccines they are testing are not even effective, then I know there's no end in sight. So I would have to either close my positions or be looking at shorting. But ordinarily, I don't short stocks. Worst case scenario, I'm just going to exit my position. Yeah, so I mean that's the only thing that I now look at to negate my view. Also, there could be risks associated with particular companies. So some of the companies are really struggling financially and might go bust. But to hedge my risk of a particular company going bust, I invest in a spectrum of companies in the same industry to diversify my risk, because it's not possible everyone is going to go bust at the same time.
True. Awesome. So, do you, let's say, for example, you go into these stocks, a mix of your portfolio. That's what I want to talk about. I mean, do you have a mix of stocks, currencies, or when you're trading stocks, you only do stocks? When you're trading currency, or you spread your risk across the currency market and the stock market?
Okay, so I move where the money is, literally. So if there are opportunities in stocks, currencies, commodities at the same time, my portfolio is going to reflect just that. However, if there's an opportunity just in stocks, then you see my portfolio being shifted to just stocks. So at this point in time, looking at all the circumstances, my portfolio is heavily tilted towards stocks.
Right. I mean, you mentioned when the US dollar devalues, the relationship between the dollar and the stock market is inverse. So when the US dollar is down, the stock market might go up. Does that mean you are short the US dollar? I mean, on one of the portfolios and on one of the instruments, or you are long some of the stocks? Is that what is happening at the moment based on?
Yeah, with the US dollar, I wasn't able to catch it at the initial stages, and I'm a trader who normally likes to enter early, so I didn't catch the move. So now all I'm praying for is for a pullback in gold. Then I can also add to the long. Whenever I have a bearish bias on the US dollar, what I'm looking out for is to be buying gold. So I'm looking for a pullback on gold, and then I'm going to go long.
Right. So with the global macro strategy, how many trades are you looking to take usually? How many trades do you take?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. I get bashed for it. For the whole year, averagely I could be taking between 30 to 40 trades the whole year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like three trades every month.
Interesting. So I just wanted to know also, I mean, how is risk spread across this market? When we are trading FX, most FX traders want to calculate the open positions to maybe a technical level where they want to exit. I mean, the same thing with stock traders. But as a fundamental kind of global macro strategist, how do you define your stop loss, or how do you manage risk in this market? Because your point of view changes when the global macro atmosphere kind of changes. If I'm connected.
Yeah. So with the stocks, what I do is I don't use leverage at all. Okay. If you check the average movement of stocks, you realize it's much more volatile than currencies. So if you were to be using the same leverage you use with forex on stocks, then that'll be a sure way to mess up your account. So I don't use any leverage at all when it comes to stocks. Now, that's one form of risk management, and then the other is that I use diversification. Okay, so the diversification, if you check my portfolio now, I have biotech stocks, I have multi-purpose stocks, I have leisure stocks, I have actual traveling stocks. Okay, so many companies that I spread my risk across. So when it comes to stocks, that's all I do. I hardly look at the charts when it comes to the stocks because I'm not using leverage, so it doesn't really affect me. However, when it comes to the currencies and the commodities, that's when I use technical analysis for my risk management. So when I say technical analysis, if you know me well, the thing that I dwell on when it comes to technical analysis is key levels. So demand and supply areas. That's what I'm looking at. I want to enter at key levels and then make sure that my stops are not too far from the key levels. So that's how I do it.
When you said you missed the ride for you missed the initial entry earlier on, you were talking about it getting past a technical level earlier on, if I'm correct.
Yeah, exactly. So it was past the level I would have been comfortable entering. So when that happens, I wait for it to pull back, and then I join with the pullback. I think gold has, yesterday when I checked, price had moved below 1,800. It was flirting with 1,790 something. Yeah, I'm not too sure, but still looks overbought for me. So I'm looking at it coming down a bit further, and then I can enter a long position.
Awesome. So that's a little sneak peek for us. So those, I mean, this is not investment advice, but keep an eye out for those key levels on there. How about the trading psychology aspect of this? Day traders deal with drawdowns so very often, and they deal with it very very often every time. Based because of the number of trades they take. I would assume as a global macro analyst, your positions might go against you for quite a period of time. So how would you handle that? Psychologically, how do you play with it?
Okay, that's a good question. So when it comes to trading psychology, there was this book that I read, Trading the Zone. I mean, it's very popular. It was written by a PhD in psychology, and dealing with losses, it taught me that it's a numbers game. Okay, if you really know what you're doing, then short-term losses should not bother you because in the long term you are going to win. So you are not so worried. You keep a cool head. You don't make your emotions get into your head, because once you start doing that, it's going to mess up with your decision making, and that's a sure way to have a huge drawdown in your account. So just keep a cool head, believe in your system, and then also know that if you have an edge in trading, then irrespective of the current circumstance, over the long term, your profits, your profitable trades are going to outweigh the losses. So that's what keeps me going. So when I see losses, so far as it's not, I always have a plan for where I'm going to stop if I'm into losses. But once it's not there, then it's just the emotions that's trying to mess up with your head. So you just stick to your plan, and then you're going to make profits in the long term.
Great. I think that's a very solid advice. With the edge, I mean, every trader needs to actually have an edge in the market before they get in there. And
Exactly.
another thing is what you mentioned. you always need to have an exit point before you get into a trade. An exit point and profit side and the loss side also very 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 important. Very
Yeah,
important.
absolutely.
So one of the final questions for this session is about Michelle, share with us one of the fondest memories of one of your best trades, the best trades you've had.
Oh. Okay. So, well, I've had quite a lot. So, but let me. The one that is obvious now is was this time, I think 2017 thereabout, and I took this trade. By then, I was actively trading the exotics, US dollar, South African rand, and basically I doubled my account in 2 hours, and
Wow.
it was a really exciting point for me. I'd never seen anything like that. So once it happened, I was just screaming yes in my office, and no, I was really screaming on top of my voice. So people came around and were asking what was wrong, and I told them this is what happened. So it was a very, 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 exciting moment for me, and I think that memory lives on every time in my head. Whenever I'm down, with trading, I kind of remember it, and then it gives me a boost.
Awesome. We all look forward to experiences like that whenever it comes to
Are you
trading.
saying you've not had any of such experiences yet?
Oh, personally, I think I've had a couple. I mean,
Oh, okay.
yes. But I
I
mean,
think
a lot of.
your subscribers or your listeners would like to know. Can you share?
I think I'm the interviewer here, so I'm sure we'll
Mm.
have a session where I would answer. What are some of the best trading rules you live by? I notably noticed um, some of them when you mentioned them. I'd like to know what are the best trading rules you live by.
Okay, so first of the rules, make sure you are not entering any lot size you are uncomfortable with. So make sure you are very comfortable with the lot size you are entering. Now, the second thing is that no matter how good your analysis is,
Right.
there is no guarantee that the trade that you have taken is going to play out. If you have that in your mind, then you are going to use risk management. You are going to exercise it to the latter. No trade is ever guaranteed. Okay. And then another thing that I also live by is that taking profits has never made anyone broke. So you take profits along the way. If you are looking at a 500 pip or 500 point move, you could take profits when it gets to like 250 pips, just so that if market were to reverse, okay, you'd not be laughing at the wrong side. I mean, basically these are the things that I live by.
Awesome. Very solid advice. And one final thing also, if a newbie listening to this, a new trader coming into the market, and they want to follow your footsteps as a global macro strategist, where do you advise them to start?
Oh, what a question. My journey into this, it was by chance. Okay, you'd bear with me that most of the info we have here as traders borders on technical analysis. So that's the bread and butter. Basically, you would hardly get any good materials with regards to fundamentals, geopolitics and the likes. So it's going to be pretty difficult for them. For me, I had someone who was into it, and he guided me as to what and what I was supposed to do. So I was able to, pick the pieces and then put everything together. He was not willing to give it to me on a silver platter, so he was giving me bits and pieces, and I just had to make sense of everything and then put all the pieces together, like forming a jigsaw puzzle. So it was that one moment where I realized, okay, I've gotten almost everything that I need to be able to become a global macro trader. So for newbies, I'll suggest that they start with listening to financial news on TV, the Bloombergs, the CNBCs, buying even our local, in our local context, you could buy BFT, Business Financial Times. You are going to learn a whole lot. You're going to learn a whole lot from there.
Awesome. Based on your past experiences with brokers, and now you are a country manager for Tiger Wits. Tiger Wits is the brokerage company. What would you say is important to look out for when selecting brokers as you did with Tiger Wits?
Okay. Yeah. So with brokers, selecting brokers, the first thing that you have to look out for is making sure they are FCA regulated. FCA is a Financial Conduct Authority in the United Kingdom. So you make sure the broker you are trading with is registered with them. That's where you begin with. That's minimum requirements. Now you're looking for transparency. The broker has to be very transparent in the dealings. Okay, so you need a broker that offers a platform that's very transparent. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the best platform that can ensure transparency is using something like a blockchain technology. And that's where Tiger Woods, stands high above every other broker that I know of. I'm yet to come across any broker that is running on blockchain technology, though. So let me give you an example. For instance, in 2018, when I was at LFX, there was this crude oil trade that I took. It was a pending order. Now, it was against a news event, and I was slipped badly. For the newbies, they might not know what slippage is, but the order price that I set, it wasn't triggered at that same price. It was triggered somewhere else. So my losses, my profits were diminished, very reduced. So we lodged a complaint with the broker, and the broker didn't tell us anything that we're satisfied with. So we had to move it to the regulator, so SISEC. Now, when something like this happens, the regulator is going to ask you, the trader, to provide evidence. What evidence do you have? The only thing you can do is to take a screenshot of your trading activities and then send it to them. They are also going to ask the broker for their evidence, and the broker could manufacture anything at all and then present it as evidence if the broker is determined to make you lose.
Right.
So when that happens, then it means you are going to be on the losing side. That's the trader. Now, what the blockchain platform that Tiger Woods offers does is that, supposing you enter an order now, it is picked by the blockchain server, which is connected directly to the regulators and then everyone who is interested in seeing the transaction. So whenever a dispute arises, the regulator is not going to ask you for evidence. Neither is he going to ask the broker for evidence. He's going to go straight into the database, the blockchain database, and then see it for themselves. So it's very transparent and it's very clean. So the broker cannot mess up with your trades whatsoever. So I mean that's how Tiger Woods stands above all these other brokers. So when the opportunity came for me to join Tiger Woods, I was really excited to be part of, this rewriting of the broker story. And it's my prayer or it's my hope that other brokers will also learn from this and become more transparent and then use systems that is going to level the playing field for all traders to be able to make money.
Great. Sound advice. And I'm sure we'll have a link to sign up to Tiger Woods just below the show notes after the interview, so everyone can check it out. Just to clarify everyone on something, LFX. I mean, Yankee mentioned LFX. LFX was a proprietary trading firm where Yankee traded. So just to clarify that in the air there. And one final question, Yankee, before you go. What's your final advice? Final advice for upcoming trades, and where can they find you in case they need to get in contact, get in touch with you?
Okay. So the final advice I'm going to give them is that, look, it is really possible to make money with trading. Okay. I know you, Muftau, you've been making a living from this, and they need to understand that the governments are not going to create enough jobs. So if they are waiting for governments to create jobs for them, then it's going to be a very long wait. They will have to take their destiny into their own hands. And the future of the world now is online. Okay? The future of the world is online. So it's very important that they get a skill. And one of the skills they can get is trading, forex trading. So they should invest a lot of time and then resources into it. Okay? It's really going to go a long way. So I'm going to leave them with a quote. Okay, there are so many forms of investments that you can indulge yourself in. Okay, but investing in yourself is the best form of investment you can do. The answer is simple, because investing in yourself pays the best interest.
Right. Investment oneself pays the best interest.
Yes.
Exactly. And where can we find you, Yankee? Twitter handle, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Etoro?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm no longer active on Facebook, so can't find me there. But I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, IG, I'm on Etoro, of course. Etoro, you just go there, discover people, search for my name, Emmanuel Yankey, and you would find me there. I'll also leave my details, in the link section, so anyone who wants to get in touch can gladly do so.
Awesome. So Yankee's contact will be just below the show notes after the interview. Thanks so much, Yankee, for doing this. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you for coming.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear your story about your high moments in trading.
Awesome. Very soon. Maybe you'll be the host then.
I'll gladly do that.
All right, Yankee. All right. Thanks so much.
All right, my pleasure. Have a nice day. Bye.